Hey everybody, welcome. This is Dr. Ryan. I just want to welcome you to the workshop that we're doing today. This is our Heart Strong workshop, and just really excited about this because heart disease is really quickly becoming the leading cause of death in North America. For most people, the sign of finding out that they have an unhealthy heart is really experiencing a heart attack. However, there are really simple lifestyle changes that you can make today to really keep your heart healthy. So in this workshop, we're going to be reviewing why heart disease numbers continue to grow every single year. We're going to go over the connection between high cholesterol and heart disease. We're going to be discussing the lifestyle changes that you can be using to prevent heart disease. And then lastly, easy action steps that you can take and start doing right away to decrease your risk of actually developing heart disease. So before we go any further, I just want to introduce myself. I'm Dr. Ryan Berlin. I have a chiropractic practice in Westchester, Ohio. My wife and I have a radio show. If you look on your screen right now, you'll see it's podcasted. It is called Align Your Health, and it's broadcasted on 55 KRC, the talk station in Cincinnati. You can find it on the iHeartRadio app if you search 55 KRC, and you can listen to it Sunday mornings. Or you can go on to Apple Podcasts and find it there. Our clinic has been voted in the top 10 best in Ohio and just have received lots of awards. We have 3 doctors. They're all amazing. And if you are interested in getting checked at our office, please visit us online at alignhealthcenter.com. That is www.alignhealthcenter.com. And let's get started. I just really want to share our mission. And our mission is that we want to empower longer, healthier lives through chiropractic care and integrating the 5 essentials of maximized living. Those essentials we'll be discussing in further detail, but they're really having a maximized mind, a maximized nerve supply, and a fully functioning nervous system, having maximized nutrition, maximize fitness, and lastly, minimizing toxicity in our lives. If you put those 5 pieces together, those 5 essentials, then you really have the most powerful healthcare system in the world. What is the world's leading cause of death as far as disease is concerned? That's cardiovascular disease. Most common would be heart attacks and strokes. And you don't have to look very far. You can look right in the Journal of American College of Cardiology to find this, and just really knowing the facts about heart disease if you visit the CDC websites. One of the big myths that we hear all the time is that heart disease is normal with aging. And nothing could be further from the truth. That the truth is that heart disease is common, but it is absolutely not normal. In fact, what we're finding is that it's not even age-related, that fatty streaks, the first sign of atherosclerosis, are found in the arteries of 100% of American kids by age 10. That was just recently published on nutriplanet.org. And 60% of 15 to 19-year-olds have plaque building up in their coronary arteries, which supply their heart. So that's 15 to 19 years old. Already 60%, more than half of them, already have plaque building up. And that's from a study out of the article out of the National Institutes of Health on PubMed. 4 to 10% of all heart attacks actually occur before the age of 45. So we know this is not an age-related problem. In fact, we're seeing it happen younger and younger and younger. Just some of the facts, I don't know if you guys know that cardiovascular disease, listed as the underlying cause of death, accounts for nearly 836,000 deaths in the US. That's about 1 in every 3, nearly 40% increase since 2015 alone. So cardiovascular disease is up 40% since 2015, just 3 years ago. 2,300 Americans die every single day from cardiovascular disease, an average of 1 death every 38 seconds. And really the cost of this is just astounding. The real indirect costs from cardiovascular disease are estimated to increase from $237 billion in 2013 to $368 billion by 2035. We're expecting to see this increase by 55%. And it's just really sad. So what are we going to do? How are we going to change this? Well, first comes knowing the risk factors that, obviously high cholesterol, high blood pressure, smoking. About half of Americans, 47%, have at least one of these three risk factors. Several other medical conditions also put you at risk, and those are diabetes, being overweight or obese, having a poor diet, poor physical activity or inactivity, and then excessive alcohol use. So that brings us to cholesterol. Let's talk about this for a few minutes because I don't think there's a substance that's more misunderstood. Cholesterol is a soft, waxy substance that's made by the liver. So it's made in our bodies. You got to understand that. When we talk about cholesterol, so often people think about dietary cholesterol, but they fail to recognize that it's actually a substance created by the body. It travels in the blood as two different compounds, LDLs and HDLs, low density lipids and high density lipids. Cholesterol is needed to manufacture hormones, bile, and vitamin D. You can't make estrogen, testosterone, cortisone, or any of your hormones really without cholesterol. It's really vital, and it's actually the body's repair substance. Whenever inflammation occurs in the body, especially in the arteries, the liver has to produce more cholesterol to repair the damage in the body as well as the arteries. We used to refer to HDL as good cholesterol, but I want you guys to think about it as anti-inflammatory cholesterol, or really cleaning cholesterol. LDL we used to call bad cholesterol because it's most often known for forming plaque because it hardens in the arteries first. But I want you guys to think about that as pro-inflammatory cholesterol. Inflammation is important because there are times that we really need to heal, and inflammation is a critical part of healing in the body. So LDLs aren't bad, they're just pro-inflammatory. HDLs are anti-inflammatory. So the truth about cholesterol, what do we know about it? The truth is that it's not cholesterol that causes heart disease. It's actually the oxidation of cholesterol. That when cholesterol oxidizes within the bloodstream, it starts to harden and clog the arteries. We know that another truth is that more people actually have heart attacks with normal cholesterol than with elevated cholesterol. So when we worry to lower our cholesterol, we need to understand that actually more people with normal cholesterol levels suffer heart attacks than with elevated cholesterol. The truth is there's a higher death rate with people with lower cholesterol than higher cholesterol. So cholesterol, really lowering the number should not be our main concern. And then lastly, that statin drugs, like cholesterol lowering drugs, they do lower cholesterol, but they do not change or affect the mortality rates of heart attacks or strokes, meaning the same amount of people or more actually die being on the drugs than not being on them. If you don't believe me, then let me pop this up on the screen, and there's all the references for everything I just told you guys. Feel free to track those down and read on them. And then just really start doing your own research. The biggest thing is you have to be an advocate for your own health. Just because the pharmaceutical companies push the drugs and then your doctor is told by the pharmaceutical reps that these drugs help with these problems, doesn't mean it's true. I actually had a friend who was a pharmaceutical rep, and he was really good at spinning the statistics and presenting a case for getting doctors to prescribe drugs. And he later became a chiropractor and left that profession because he couldn't sleep with himself at night after lying to doctor after doctor after doctor. So we'll go over in just a few minutes what really causes heart disease, but let's look at the causes of high cholesterol. So high cholesterol, really a poor diet, usually fried foods, things that contain trans fatty acids, fried packaged foods, things that that are cooked in or exposed to hydrogenated oils or vegetable oils. Those are the biggest things that we see raising bad cholesterol. Lack of exercise leads to LDLs because regular exercise can increase good cholesterol and lower bad cholesterol, decreasing our risk of heart disease, but lack of exercise allows the opposite to happen. Being overweight, often overweight people have very low LDL and very low HDL, and very high LDL cholesterol. And it really increases their risk of high blood pressure and type 2 diabetes when you're overweight. Older age, the older we get, the more we need to be really focusing on doing the right things because as we get older, it's not uncommon for the accumulation of our lifestyle over time. especially when women go through hormonal changes. Sometimes their cholesterol levels rise significantly. Genetics can play a role, but a very tiny one. In fact, the science of epigenetics is saying that you can change this stuff very dramatically and in some cases very quickly. What's the silent killer? We call it the silent killer, but it's actually our blood pressure. So on the screen there, you see a blood pressure cuff, and there are very few warning signs of high blood pressure other than nowadays we can monitor it fairly easily. Among the symptoms that may be related to high blood pressure are blood spots in the eyes, facial flushing, dizziness, fatigue, confusion, chest pain, irregular heartbeats, vision problems, pounding in your chest, neck, or ear, and blood in your urine. These are signs to watch out for, and really blood pressure, to understand it, you have to know that there's 3 stages of hypertension. The American Heart Association categorizes these into stage 1, 2, and 3. And so we want to keep our systolic and diastolic numbers. You guys have heard the 120 over 80. That's kind of the goal. But the important thing to understand is that in order for your blood pressure to be taken, it's supposed to be measured seated, standing, and lying down on both arms on 2 separate visits. And you're supposed to have the majority of those numbers be high versus normal or low in order to be diagnosed as having high blood pressure. So you have to at least fail the test on one of those arms in 3 different positions in order to be considered high blood pressure risk, because if not, then it's just a benign positional phenomenon that only happens when you're in certain positions. So if your doctor is considering putting you on medication, he should have attested you seated, standing, and lying down, and have put the blood pressure on both arms in both of those positions, and he has to confirm it not just on that visit, but again on another visit in order to legally have reason or warrant to put you on a medication. That's according to the standards for measuring blood pressure. So if your doctor has put you on a drug just by taking your pressure on one arm one time in one position, then really he's being negligent, and you really should question whether you should be on that drug in the first place. Key risks for heart disease, and high blood pressure too are, blocked arteries, atherosclerosis, heart attack. That high blood pressure causes thickening and blocking of the arteries, can be caused by that. Blocked arteries result from thick blood. Our blood gets thick in response to inflammation and some dietary things that can happen. Hardened arteries can also cause this. They can lead to blood clots, restricting blood flow to the heart, and eventually heart attack. So we'll talk a bit about how our blood vessels get hardened. Elevated blood pressure becomes a warning sign, but really what happens is the damage can build up over time. I'm just going to throw this out there because I want you guys to understand that this can happen from many things we do, and here's just one hidden source. Just recently doing a detoxification workshop, we were studying the effects of chlorinated water, and you guys expose yourselves when you shower to about 25 gallons of water each shower. If you take a 15-minute shower, which is pretty long for some people, but it's equivalent to drinking 8 glasses of polluted water, except for you're absorbing this through your skin and inhaling it in. If your skin repels about 75% of the chemicals and toxins in the water, that leaves about 25% of the chemicals that make their way in. And the steam from a hot shower releases gases including 2 chemicals. One is chloroform and the other one is trichloroethylene. So trichloromethane is chloroform and trichloroethylene. Those break down from the chlorine in the water. Both of them are known as carcinogens. They actually cause cancer, and they both actually harden the arteries and cause the arteries to become atherosclerotic. So one of the practical steps I'm going to teach you guys is putting a shower filter on your shower head. You can buy them on Amazon for about $25 or $30, but here is something that you might be doing every single day that could be causing a risk for heart disease that nobody has ever spoken to you about. Some prescription drugs, in fact, your doctor, if he's put you on these, he may not tell you this, but pain and anti-inflammatory medicines, antidepressants, birth control, your cup of coffee in the morning, really caffeine, cold medications, or some herbal supplements have actually been shown to increase and raise blood pressure. So you have to really be looking at everything you're doing. We take a 5 essentials approach, so learn what changes you can make to age with vitality and strength and not put yourself at risk of developing heart disease. The 5 essentials are built on the principle that a healthy lifestyle really sustains your well-being and helps prevent disease. We actually believe in max living that health is the natural state in the body and that disease is a very unnatural state from not following these 5 critical areas of health and healing in our life. What does nutrition look like to rid ourselves of the risk for heart disease? And that's important. So we talk about, what are the recommendations for health that the American Heart Association recommends versus what do we recommend in Maximize Living. So the American Heart Association would tell you to lower your salt intake, lower your fat intake, particularly from saturated fat and cholesterol. They would tell you to eat, rich, fresh fruits and veggies, and they would actually tell you to really also, do things like quit smoking and all these other sources. So they're not warning you of your shower, but they're warning you of cigarette smoke. There's some essential supplements we're going to talk about in a few that are really critical, but before we get any further in understanding the nutrition, I want you guys to understand how heart disease develops. So here's an article that came out of the British Journal of Medicine saying that saturated fat does not clog the arteries, that coronary heart disease is a chronic inflammatory condition, the risk of which can be effectively reduced from changing our lifestyle. If you look on the side, they show the firefighters putting out the fire, and the fire is what's really, which represents inflammation, is what's hardening the cholesterol. You see that big clump of cholesterol there. If you look off to the right, or sorry, left side rather, it says LDL cholesterol risk has been exaggerated. And I would, encourage you guys to read that paragraph right there out of the British Journal of Medicine, where they describe that that our risk of developing heart disease from LDL has nothing to do with the LDL, has everything to do with inflammation. So a high-fat Mediterranean diet has really been shown to reduce the risk of this. And so we're talking about olive oil and good healthy fats from nuts, coconut, extra virgin olive oil, organically, naturally raised protein, things that are wild caught or grass-fed, much healthier than commodity raised meats. Low sugar intake, so fruits, we want to stay with things like Granny Smith apples or berries because of their low glycemic index. Plant-based carbohydrates, not grains. We want to stay away from grains. We really want to avoid any trans fats. And we want to avoid some saturated fats, but sodium, specifically table salt. If you guys are using salt, what you want to use is pink Himalayan sea salt or gray Celtic sea salt. There's over 80 minerals in those salts that really help to keep your blood vessels healthy and keep the sodium, potassium, calcium, magnesium, all these things in balance. But when we're eating table salt, it's really just sodium and chloride, and it hardens the arteries over time. Red meat, especially if it's not pasture raised, if it's not eating grass only, then red meat puts you at risk. And then lastly, and the most important one, is sweets and sugar. Sweetened beverages, even if they are sugar-free, like diet sodas, those are really risky. Look at that blood vessel again. I want to explain this. Imagine that blood vessel is a pipe that's running through your house, say going from your first floor to your second floor, and there's water flowing through it, taking it to your bathroom upstairs. If we shut off the flow of water in that pipe and then we replace the water with acid, what would happen to that pipe over time if we pumped acid through it? And the answer is really obvious, kind of like the fire you see there. The acid would corrode and eat away at the inside of that pipe, and it would eventually cause it to perforate. Your body's like that, And when there's too much acidity in the blood caused by sugar intake and caused by trans fats, then what happens is our blood becomes acidic and it starts destroying the inside of our blood vessels. Your body sends LDLs there to try to calm down, sends cholesterol there to try to calm down this, and also to plug up the holes that are being eaten away at our blood vessels. But if the acidity in the blood continues, what it does is it oxidizes that cholesterol. So where the cholesterol is clumped to the wall on the inside, trying to become part of that vessel and block it, kind of like putting bubble gum in a hole in a pipe, then what happens is that hardens due to the acidity, and that's where it gets blocked up. And so the cholesterol is actually there to save your life, but the acidic blood is what's destroying your health of your arteries, and in turn creating the hardening of the cholesterol inside. And then if that cholesterol breaks free, now you could have an embolism or a stroke. So that's how it happens. So the best thing you could possibly do is change your nutrition to a diet that's going to decrease cortisol and insulin, something like a ketogenic diet, or even better yet, a ketogenic diet that models the Mediterranean diet. Start exercising, start using salt from Celtic sea salt and Himalayan salt, and then most importantly, reduce your sugar and your your sweets, your diet sodas, and also reducing your trans fats. So really this is what it looks like, is swapping out things that are made from the ground and made from God from things that are packaged and pre-made and overcooked. Follow the core and advanced plans. Those details are in the book called Align Your Health, which you can find on our website. Both Align Your Health and Max Living have healthy recipes to provide delicious, nutritious meals that the family will love. Choose the advanced plan if you have indicators for high cholesterol or high blood pressure, because those advanced plan meals remove the grains, the fruits that are high in sugar, and focuses on vegetables and good fats and proteins. It's all organic, non-processed, non-GMO. So don't start slow, plan well, and jump in, and expect to struggle with some cravings in the first 2 weeks, but you're going to see some amazing results after that. So just encourage you guys to check out our website and really look at that. So let's talk about a couple nutrients for key health. Coenzyme Q10, that if you've ever been on a Crestor, Lipitor, or any of those statin drugs, they actually block the production of coenzyme Q10. And so that's why those conditions, when people are on those medications, they end up leading to dementia, brain fog, muscle wasting, because CoQ10 is critical for that. It's abundant in heart, muscles, and cells. So you're taking a medication that's actually blocking coenzyme Q10 and destroying your heart even more. Deficiencies linked to high blood pressure, diabetes, angina, arrhythmia, heart failure, may improve symptoms of congestive heart failure, and CoQ10 levels tend to decrease with age, so it's important if you're over the age of 40 to begin supplementing with it. It's a key element in energy production. It's an antioxidant. It occurs naturally in beef, chicken, fish, and broccoli. Coenzyme Q10 deficiency has been linked to high blood pressure, diabetes, angina, arrhythmia, and heart failure. Studies have shown that supplementation with CoQ10 for patients with chronic heart failure is not only safe, but it improves symptoms and reduces major adverse cardiovascular events. So if you're having symptoms of any heart issues, CoQ10 is something you want to supplement with. If you are currently on any sort of statin, then it's an absolute must. You have to be supplementing with CoQ10. If you're not, then you're depleting your body of it, and you're going to end up with some cardiovascular issues, blood pressure issues. You're probably going to end up with a lot of brain-related issues and possibly set yourself at risk for Alzheimer's disease. A lack of CoQ10 has also been linked to angina, arrhythmia, and really heart failure. So if anybody has a dysrhythmia or a atrial fibrillation, that CoQ10, part of the reason they may have that is if they're on a statin, CoQ10 can be depleted and start leading to that. So studies have shown that the supplementation of CoQ10 really can improve the symptoms of any form of heart failure. Again, this comes from, if you go to nccih.nih.gov/health/supplements/CoQ10. You can read quite a bit on CoQ10. Also Mayo Clinic, if you go to their mayoclinic.org/drugs-supplements-coenzyme Q10, you can read a lot there. Just some great stuff there. Magnesium. Magnesium is a cofactor in more than 300 enzyme systems, including protein synthesis, muscle and nerve function, blood glucose control, and blood pressure regulation. So if you're having any issues with like muscle cramping, any nerve related issues, nerve pain, sciatica, blood glucose issues, so anything with blood sugar imbalances, and then lastly blood pressure, then magnesium, something you should really supplement with. Magnesium helps to keep the blood vessels nice and pliable. It helps to keep the muscles healthy and keeping all the fluid in the muscles like it's supposed to be. Helps control and regulate blood pressure. Optimum magnesium levels may even prevent high blood pressure and hypertension. Studies show that supplementation can reduce major adverse cardiovascular events. Your major food sources are green leafies, spinach, legumes, nuts, seeds, whole grains. A lot of us don't eat a lot of those, so it's really important it's critical to be, supplementing with some magnesium. One of the big things too is we should be using salt, lots of salt in our food, and we should be using pink salt and Himalayan salt and Celtic sea salt. And those are actually very rich in magnesium, but most of us for 10, 20, 30, 40 years, some of us have only been using table salt and not much of it because we've been told to reduce it. Well, we're probably magnesium deficient. In fact, if you have a chocolate craving frequently, if you ever have chocolate cravings, that's linked to a magnesium deficiency. You don't actually crave chocolate as much as you crave the magnesium in chocolate. Optimal Omega, so omega-3 fatty acids, we use a product called Optimal Omega. Just for the record, all of these supplements, if you go to alignhealthcenter.com, so ALIGN, healthcenter.com, you can click on store, and then you can find all these products there. That these are some of the highest quality products on the market, and you're actually getting not only high quality products, but you're actually getting them at an amazing price point. That these prices are comparable to grocery store supplement prices, which those grocery store supplements are poor quality, terrible, full of fillers. So you're getting a premium product for a really competitive price. A lower omega-3 index is associated with cardiovascular disease because of all the omega-6 fatty acids that are typically in our food, that if we supplement with omega-3s, it can really start to reduce our risk. And supplement with those omega-3s and 6, in this supplement, it was really developed to provide essential fatty acids in ratios. The ratios that will really promote cardiovascular and circulatory health, healthy immune response, healthy skin, eyes, and improved cognitive function. And then essential fatty acids, the ratio that you really want this in is you want it in a 1-to-1 ratio of 3s to 6s. And you need about 1,600 milligrams of omega-3s with ALA, EPA, and DHA. And that's exactly what this has in it. It's also got your GLA from high quality anti-inflammatory borage oil, where the others are coming from flaxseed and fish oil. So this has flaxseed, fish oil, and borage oil. Daily Defense. This is an amazing product for lowering inflammation in the body. Remember, we talked about all these things being from inflammation. So chronic low-level inflammation is what plays a role in every leading cause of mortality in the United States. The key to reversing inflammation is really to eliminate free radicals. Free radicals are what are produced when we're eating those trans fats and things are becoming oxidized. The opposite of oxidation is to really be using an antioxidant. So that's what this is. Daily Defense is a whole foods formulation that provides powerful combination of 3 different synergistic antioxidants: curcumin, Indian gooseberry, and then melon extract in the form of superoxide dismutase. Daily Defense contains a C3 complex, which is a patented form of curcumin, powerful anti-inflammatory molecule that comes from turmeric root. Way more powerful than turmeric itself. You want that curcumin and that C3 complex. Studies suggest that when it's taken as a supplement, curcumin is an effective scavenger of the reactive oxidative processes in the body, reversing the root cause of inflammation. And so this powerful trio of antioxidants combats that free radical damage and oxidative stress while supporting healthy aging and really regeneration. So just an awesome product. I know nothing like it on the market. Again, this is found in our store at alignhealthcenter.com. If you have heard anything about supplements in the last decade, this is the big one. Everyone talks about vitamin D, and it plays a role in heart disease because levels of this essential compound have been found to be directly associated with the risk of dying from really everything. There was a Harvard study that found that people with low vitamin D levels had twice the risk of developing a heart attack. And so taking vitamin D reduces your risk of heart disease. Vitamin D deficiency is really shockingly a common health problem in Americans. Studies suggest that untreated deficiency impairs the immune system, causes poor bone strength, so leading to things like osteoporosis and osteopenia, cardiovascular decline, and really an increased susceptibility to infection. So in addition to vitamin D, a strong immune system is contingent upon a healthy digestive tract. So what we do is in this product, we combine it with pro and prebiotics. Those probiotics provide a resilient gut bacteria that may lay the foundation for healthy digestion and powerful immune protection. And then it's just a really revolutionary product that combines the power of 5,000 IUs, which is an awesome dosage, with 10 billion CFU of probiotics and powerful prebiotics that prime the bacteria in your gut to start wanting to absorb the vitamin D. So this is a unique formula that provides the benefits of those two in one with dynamic support across multiple body systems. You got 5,000 IUs of vitamin D in one capsule with 10 billion CFU of probiotic plus gut nourishing FOS, those oligosaccharides that help to really get that immune system primed. Those are your prebiotics. So the Harvard studies found that low levels correlate to your increased risk of developing a heart attack. That's why we'd want to start taking this. You know, oxygen and exercise, the reality is we just need to start moving more and more regularly. So regular exercise provides both an acute and long-term reduction in blood pressure. Find an exercise or activity you like to do and you enjoy, and just go do it. You know, if you like to run. If you like to cycle. If you like to do burpees, nobody likes to do burpees. Let's be honest. We could say that. Let's say that in another way. If you're kind of demented and your head's not right, then do burpees. But regular exercise provides both an accurate and long-term reduction in blood pressure. So our goal is doing about 15 to 30 minutes a day. 30 minutes if you're going a little slower, 15 minutes if you're upping the intensity. And really the best form of exercise, studies have shown hormonally, for blood pressure, for everything, is when you're doing intermittent surge or burst training, so like intervals. So a great example would be do 30 squats, take a minute rest, 30 squats, take a minute rest, maybe do 30 push-ups, take a minute rest, 30 jumping jacks, like do intervals, and you got to do them for like 12 to 15 minutes minimum before you really start seeing the effects. So the goal is don't spend too much time resting. Don't rest any longer than you're working in a cycle, and just keep mixing up all the movements. You know, mindset's so critical. That stress is a real thing. And I was just recently doing a radio show with my wife where we were talking about 40% of the things we worry about never happen. 30% of the things we worry about have already happened, so there's no changing them. And then only about, I think the research was, it was less than 10%, if I'm not mistaken. I think it was 8% of the stuff that we worry about are actual things that we can change and affect, that we should even, they're legitimate concerns at all. So really we need to be focused on about 8% of any of the stuff that we even worry about. And so the 8% really is all the things we're talking about. Work on your nutrition, work on your mindset, make sure you're getting adjusted, getting chiropractic care, and taking the right supplements, and doing things that actually are going to benefit you. Stress really increases your blood pressure, so your body produces a surge of hormones when you're in a stressful situation, and you can minimize the impact of this by, simplifying your schedule. Review your calendar, cut out a bunch of crap you don't need, develop some to-do lists over the things you do. Take time every day. When you're stressed, take 10 big, deep breaths and breathe through your belly, not your chest. Make a conscious effort to really deepen and slow down your breathing. Set an alert on your phone, and every time it goes off, set it for 15 minutes. Just take 10 breaths and then go back to working, and set that alert for every 15 minutes. Exercise, obviously physical activity is a natural stress buster. Some of the good ones for stress are yoga and meditation. They really help strengthen our body and relax, and sometimes lower our systolic blood pressure. Keep plenty of sleep. Chronic sleep deprivation, people who just chronically are getting less than 7 to 8 hours of sleep, they tend to have higher blood pressure. So focus on quality, not quantity. And really 7 to 8 is the best, but the most important thing is that you're sleeping between the hours of 10 and 2, 10 p.m. to 2 a.m. uninterrupted, and that you're in bed. So shut off the devices, shut off the TV, get the blue light out of your eyes, create a dark, quiet room, maybe a white noise maker, and get at least those 4 hours between 10 and 2, and then shoot for 7 to 8 hours of sleep. Lastly, you really need to shift your perspective. Resist the tendency to complain and really acknowledge your feelings about any situation. Focus on finding solutions and not just crabbing and complaining and, just being an Eeyore through life. That we just need to really focus on the fact that we're alive is enough. The fact that God's blessed us with another day. The fact that, we have breath coming into our lungs and blood coursing through our veins is reason enough to be excited that life is literally a miracle and you're alive today. So, get out, take advantage of it, and get a smile on your face for crying out loud, and stop stressing everybody else out, and then just enjoy all the people around you and benefit from them and their happiness. My recommended next step for you, if you have never had your nervous system checked, is to learn a little bit about chiropractic, that your brain and your spinal cord are connected to every organ in your body, that literally your brain is telling everything how to work and how to function. Research says that 90% of the function of your brain is dependent on the proper movement of the spinal column. So what happens is when your spine is out of alignment, when you're subluxated, when those vertebrae aren't moving, they actually start damaging the nerves, and they damage the communication from your brain to your organs. That if you have subluxation in your spine from things like your own birth process, that maybe when you were born via C-section or forceps or even a regular delivery where they had to pull or twist, you might have been born with a condition that 80% of Americans are born with, which is a misplaced or stuck cervical vertebra. That if you had that, you might have had colic or ear infections or asthma or allergies, and then as you grow older, you might have had headaches or neck pain, or down the road, really, more allergy type issues. You might have digestive issues like reflux. So then you go play football or do gymnastics. You're in a car accident when you're 16 or 17, then you create more damage in your spine. Now you start having some neck soreness or back pain. You start losing some range of motion. By the time I check my average patient when they're in their 30s or 40s, they already have massive issues in their spine. And then watch this research. You ready? The effects of regular chiropractic care to changes in lipid metabolism in 10 randomly selected subjects exposed to a stressful environment. What they did was they put these people in a stressful environment, and then they really evaluated how they responded to chiropractic care. The total cholesterol and low density lipid levels decreased in 70% of the people. 66% of the subjects were classified as borderline high to high risk for total cholesterol, and those 66% that were that high, they fell into a desirable range with chiropractic care. 80% of the subjects initially were classified as borderline high to high risk, their LDLs fell into desirable levels. So their total cholesterol dropped, their LDLs dropped, and then 50% of subjects attained optimal range for cardiac risk factors. 90% of the total subjects' triglyceride levels dropped while under regular chiropractic care. It's just amazing that just chiropractic alone, because of the neurology, changed their physiology. By getting the pressure off the nerves, the body was able to respond better. And this had nothing to do with diet. This had everything to do with adjustments. How about this one? Blood pressure. McKnight and DeBauer. Statistically significant changes in blood pressure in normotensive subjects with upper cervical subluxations. They had neck subluxations. 20 to 35 years old, 75 subjects. They palpated them and they checked their cervical spinal range of motion. And they noticed systolic and diastolic blood pressure decreases when they were under chiropractic care. The only subjects demonstrated to have thoracic vertebral subluxations were randomly assigned to one of three groups, an active, a placebo, and a control group. And what they found was the subjects in the active chiropractic group showed statistically significant decreases in both systolic and diastolic blood pressure. The placebo and the control groups had no such changes. And so adjusting those thoracic vertebrae significantly reduced patients with elevated blood pressure back into a normal range. How about this one out of University of Chicago? Special chiropractic adjustment lowers blood pressure amongst hypertensive patients with a C1 misalignment. This was actually published in the Journal of Hypertension, and it was studied at the University of Chicago Hypertension Center. This was in 2007. This thing was all over the news. It was incredible. Dysrhythmias. Well, Jarmel and Zatkin demonstrated improvement in the cardiac autonomic regulation. So this is your AFibs and your tachycardias. They had 11 subjects that were presented with dysrhythmic abnormalities. And following 1 month of chiropractic care, there's a positive trend in the number of ventricular beats, ischemic events, maximum time, and ST segment. It was just awesome. They eliminated all the after depolarizations and enhanced heart rate. What does this mean for you? That under chiropractic care, if you're having a dysrhythmia or a atrial fib or tachycardia, then you need to be getting adjusted, because getting that adjustment helps to regulate your nervous system, specifically your parasympathetic nervous system. And that can be measured through heart rate variability. We'll talk about that in just 1 second. Sudden cardiac death may arise from abnormal nerve firings. Look where this came from. Improvements in cardiac and autonomic regulation following manipulative therapy. And this was just an amazing, really amazing article that talked about, in this study, 11 patients without prior history of myocardial infarction who had signs of heart rhythm abnormalities received spinal manipulative therapy. Spinal manipulative therapy was there to significantly enhance their cardio autonomic balance. How? Through heart rate variability. Here's another study that showed heart rate variability after 1 year of chiropractic care. The LF and HF ratio changed significantly, indicating an increased parasympathetic stimulation. What does that mean? Potentially, this could reduce heart attack and other cardiovascular diseases by increasing cardiac reserve, meaning the ability for your heart to function longer, and nutrient supply to cardiac muscles. So I think that's the same study over again. I copied it twice. But you guys are just getting the point here that, chiropractic care, the principle that health comes from above down, inside out, that God put an amazing power in your body, and that power flows through your nervous system, and all the communication has to happen over that nervous system. And that in order for you to thrive, function, and be well, you have to have proper nerve supply. That all of us have a spine that surrounds and protects our nervous system. And if that spine is out of alignment and is putting pressure on our nerves, we have to get it corrected, and a chiropractor is the only person who can do that. And a max living chiropractor is the chiropractors that are on the cutting edge, they're on the forefront, trained in corrective care to quickly reduce these patterns, quickly get the curves back in your spine, quickly reduce things like scoliosis and subluxations, and get you feeling, but more importantly, healing well, so that you can thrive and have abundant life. You guys, if you're interested in subluxation research, like I was just going over, it's amazing. If you're interested in getting adjusted, if you're interested in checking us out, if you're in my area, in the Cincinnati, Ohio area, check out alignhealthcenter.com. If you are not in our area and you're looking to find a doctor, check out maxliving.com. If you're interested in any of the products I just talked about, again, go to alignhealthcenter.com, ALIGN, healthcenter.com, and you can go on there and order any of those products. If you're interested in listening to my wife and I on our podcast on 55 KRC, the talk station, or on iHeartRadio, that airs on Sunday mornings right now at 7:30 a.m. There's talk that will be moving to 1 p.m. But either way, you can find us podcasted and go and listen to our podcasts on the iTunes podcast app. Search for Align, A-L-I-G-N, Align Your Health. And then lastly, you can also go to Dr. Ryan Live, DrRyanLive.com. Click on menu, then click on podcast and listen to them right there from your computer or Android. And you guys, it was just a blessing. Thanks for joining me. I'm going to keep doing this with all the webinars and making sure that we just continue to produce amazing, amazing content. If you're interested in finding out more, feel free to check me out on Facebook. I have a Dr. Ryan Facebook page, and that's just one of the ways you can reach out. You guys be blessed. In fact, I want to close and just pray and say, God, I appreciate the opportunity to share just principles of life, of living, of healing. Like God, David said, we'll praise you for your fearfully, you created us fearfully and wonderfully made. And we really believe what's said in 1 John 4:4, where it says, greater is he who is in you than he who is in the world. And Father, you put your spirit and your intelligence inside of us. And we just ask that you would help us to have more faith in that, more faith that you did nothing wrong, more belief in the power in our body and ability to heal, more faith in that than in a knife or a spoonful of medicine. Thank you for giving us the doctors we have. Thank you for, some of the life-saving care, but more, we thank you for the knowledge and the ability to apply it so that we never have to end up under their care in the first place. And we're just blessed, and we thank you. And thank you for your son and his sacrifice. In his name, amen. Be blessed, guys.